Well, two men were injured Friday following a crash near Seth Childs Road and Marlatt Avenue. The accident happened around 4:30 when a pickup failed to yield the right-of-way to a cargo van. The Kansas Highway Patrol says the crash resulted in hospital trips for 22-year-old Spencer Berry and 63-year-old Mark Pixley, both of Manhattan. Both were taken to Ascension via Christie. Berry was later transported to Stormont Vale Hospital in Topeka. Authorities say both men were wearing seatbelts at the time of the crash, but both reportedly had serious injuries. Catherine Foke will seek another term on the Riley County Commission. The incumbent 3rd District Commissioner was elected in 2020, replacing Ron Wells on the board. She's the second to file for a seat on the county commission, joining fellow Commissioner Greg McKinley, who was also elected 4 years ago. In a statement, Foke says some of her major goals are to solve critical space issues in the courts, a plan for the deferred maintenance needs of county buildings, and conducting a space analysis and updates for employees to work more efficiently. Candidates have until June 3rd to file for the upcoming election. For the 5th consecutive year, the state of Kansas is expected to have a balanced state budget with a surplus. 66th District State Representative Sidney Carlin says she's happy the budget achieved its goals and that the state isn't having to borrow money as it had to under previous administrations.
I'm really happy with what was done in the budget. We have extra money. We have I don't know how many $1 billion are going to be left, but lots of money. We have our rainy day fund that we set up about 3 years ago. We meet our 7.5% ending balance requirement.
Carlin explains much of the budget is helping pay off some of the state's debt obligations.
The budget this year included a lot of debt payoff, and one of those is to pay off the BRI bonds, which is going to really help K-State because they've had to make those, I think it's $2.2 million that we're paying off.
Carlin joined K-Mans in Focus on Friday. You can hear the archived interview at newsradiokman.com. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran expressed desire this week for a new farm bill.
Our farmers deserve, and even more importantly, they need better. Agriculture is an incredibly difficult industry as farmers and ranchers face challenges from weather events, economic shocks, and supply chain shortages. Added to these challenges are the inflationary policies that have raised prices on farmland and ultimately at the grocery store.
Moran speaking on Capitol Hill last Thursday. The most recent farm bill was signed in 2018 and provisions were set to last until 2023, but Congress took no action on the farm bill last fall. In a statement, Moran says many provisions that impact agriculture need to be addressed, including the reworking of revenue protection programs to provide a critical safety net that works with market challenges and allows farmers, particularly younger farmers, to borrow money to stay in business. The senator says he still hopes leaders can come back to the table and negotiate a farm bill this year. With the Beyond Tomorrow downtown plan entering its final stage, the public is invited to get a first-hand look at it. 3 public open house events are scheduled this week at City Hall. The first one to take place 8:30 to 10:30 this morning, then from noon to 1:30 on Wednesday, and from 5 until 6:30 p.m. on April 4th. City staff will be on hand to answer any questions and take feedback. After the events, the Beyond Tomorrow downtown plan is scheduled to be presented to the Manhattan City Commission for adoption in May. Town hall meetings will also take place this week at Kansas State University as officials seek feedback on the future of facilities as they align with the Next Gen strategic plan. The year-long planning process will include an in-depth evaluation and recommendation on how the 3 campuses in Manhattan, Olathe, and Salina should grow and develop over the next decade. Associate Vice President of Facilities Casey Lauer says they'll take feedback on current facilities and whether or not they align with the university's aspirational goals.
It allows, I think, open dialogue around developing framework and strategies for where to invest and why to invest in a very transparent way.
The Manhattan Town Hall will take place at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Alumni Center Banquet Room. A virtual town hall will follow at 6:30 for those unable to attend in person. Additional town halls are scheduled Wednesday in Salina and Thursday in Olathe. Lauer says a key part of the facilities plan will include the future use of Ahern Fieldhouse.
We really want to have some very meaty discussions and purpose-driven visioning sessions around what the future of the Fieldhouse could look like.
Lauer says the university is just beginning the process and expects to complete the plan sometime in early to mid-2025. One of the rarest examples of American automobile engineering will become part of the Midwest Dream Car collection in Manhattan. Dream Car Museum curator Doug Malone announced this week the arrival of a 1948 Tucker 48 sedan to the 80-vehicle collection. The Tucker is one of 47 surviving examples of the car designed and built by Preston Tucker in the late 1940s. The Tucker will be unveiled to the public during a museum members-only party April 10th as part of the museum's 5th anniversary celebration. Immortalized in the 1988 film Tucker, A Man in His Dream, Tucker automobiles were touted as being ahead of their time thanks to several safety features Preston Tucker envisioned. Some of those include a third centrally mounted headlight that swiveled when the car turned, a shatterproof windshield, and a fully padded dashboard in an era where car interiors were largely comprised of hard metal surfaces. The Tucker Car Corporation did not last past the 1940s following a fraud investigation. The 1948 Tucker joins more than 60 other vehicles on display at the Midwest Dream Car Collection.
Good morning, I'm Troy Coverdale with your sports headlines at News Radio KMAN as KMAN's Morning News continues. Tamia Sadler scored all 10 of her points in the second half as Colorado ended K-State's season in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament yesterday. 63-50 the final at a sold-out Bramlage Coliseum.
I thought our defense was good enough to win this game. We held them to 35% shooting, but ultimately turnovers were a big problem for us. We did not get to the free throw line enough to balance that out where we get some points there, and we weren't shooting the ball well enough. It was really hard for us to put together consistent possessions.
Jeff Mittie, as his team saw its season come to an end in the round of 32. The Buffaloes outscored K-State 19-7 in the third quarter to take a 52-42 lead into the final stanza. The Cats had multiple chances to trim the deficit to 3 in that quarter, but couldn't get shots to fall.
There was an opportunity there because we did do such a good job defensively in that stretch to make a much bigger run than the 4 points. But that's why we'll look back at this and go, the things that we controlled, we didn't do as well as we needed to.
Senior Gabby Gregory led the Wildcats with 12 points in her final game in a Wildcat uniform.
I think right now I'm just so upset that we're not moving on, but the magnitude of my basketball career being over in college, it really hasn't, hit me yet. But I'm so thankful for Coach Mittie for allowing me to come here. I couldn't have asked for a better experience the last 2 years. I just love this school. I love K-State. Thanks, Gene and Jill. I've just had a blast, and I've just absolutely loved my time here. And I wish I could stay longer.
The Wildcats saw their season end at 26-8, while Colorado will advance to face either Iowa or West Virginia in the round of 16. Yesterday's other winners were Baylor dropping Virginia Tech 75-72. Texas advances by besting Alabama 65-54. Iowa State falls in overtime to Stanford 87-81. South Carolina, Oregon State, LSU, and Duke were also victorious yesterday. In the men's tournament, Emmanuel Sharp started overtime with a tray that put top-seeded Houston ahead to stay. The Cougars advanced to the Sweet 16 by topping 9th-seeded Texas A&M 100-95. Jamal Shedd put up 21 points and 10 assists to lead the Cougars to the round of 16.
He has the ultimate trust in us, and we have the ultimate trust in him. He's the best motivator I've ever been around in my life, best coach I know in America. And, when a guy like that trusts you, your confidence level is through the roof.
Chase Hunter had 20 points and 6 assists as number 6 seed Clemson held off third-seeded Baylor for a 72-64 win in the second round. The Tigers advancing to the Sweet 16 for the second time in Coach Brad Brunell's 14 seasons.
Our team was one of the last 2 teams probably left out of the tournament last year, and that's heartbreaking. So some of these guys, you want it so bad for them. You talk to them about it all year, and now they're realizing why this is such a significant tournament and what it's going to mean for them for the rest of their lives.
Also yesterday, Marquette eliminates Colorado 81-77. Duke hammered James Madison 93-55. Purdue blasted Utah State 106-67. UConn hammered Northwestern 75-58. San Diego State clipped Yale 85-57, and Alabama outlasted Grand Canyon 72-61. Dusty May is headed to Michigan, returning to his Big Ten roots, leaving Florida Atlantic after 6 seasons, highlighted by their Final Four run of a year ago. Michigan announced Sunday that May agreed to a 5-year contract that will pay him about $3.75 million annually. West Virginia has tapped Drake coach Darren DeVries to move to the Mountaineers. The 48-year-old DeVries compiled a 150 and 55 mark in 6 seasons and took Drake to the NCAA tournament 3 times. The count reaches 9 for K-State baseball.
The Kansas State Wildcats have matched the longest winning streak in the Pete Hughes era. That number is 9. after a 9-3 thumping of the Houston Cougars Sunday at Schrader Park in Houston. The game was deadlocked at 2 after 5 innings. Kansas State had a big opportunity in the 7th, scored twice, but then finished it off with 5 runs in the 8th inning. At one point, K-State had 6 straight hits in that frame. The Wildcats pounded out 15 overall, highlighted by Brady Day's 5-for-6 performance with 2 runs driven in. Kansas State gets the victory, again 9-3 the final. Tyson Neighbors made his return. He got the win yesterday as the Cats again improved to 17-6, 5-1 in the Big 12. The Cats sit atop the conference standings. Next up, a non-conference date with Nebraska on Tuesday night. A 5:30 pregame start from the K-State Sports Network. 6 o'clock for the first pitch before Texas comes in for 3 next weekend. Against Sunday's final from Houston, Wildcats 9, Houston 3 as the Cats sweep the Cougars. I'm Matt Walters, News Radio, KMAN.
Royals right-hander Michael Wacha hit on his pitching hand during his final inning of spring training and will undergo x-rays on his middle finger to determine the extent of the injury. Wacha was pitching in the 5th inning of an intra-squad game. The Royals are counting on him to fill out an almost entirely revamped rotation, having signed the 32-year-old veteran to a $32 million 2-year contract in free agency. Kansas City will take on their AA affiliate Northwest Arkansas in Springdale today before heading to Kansas City ahead of the regular season opener on Thursday. They'll welcome in AL Central rival Minnesota for that contest Thursday afternoon here on News Radio KMAN.